Hello and welcome to the Podcast Engineering Show. My name is Chris Curran. I'm really glad you're here. Happy New Year, by the way. I'm wishing you all the best in 2020, and I'm wishing you especially excellent sounding podcast audio in 2020. I hope you and your shows and your clients' shows, I hope everyone sounds great in 2020. This episode is an overview of some of the daily goody blog posts that I write, and these types of episodes alternate with the other types of episodes I do, which is guest interviews. And so I did 2 daily goody episodes in a row, but usually I alternate. And for this episode, wow, this is exciting. I have a different setup, a completely different setup. You know why? Because I like to make things interesting for you and me. Okay, well, today I'm actually using a Samson Q2U microphone, and I'm plugged in using the XLR cable into a Focusrite 2i2 3rd gen interface, and I do have the air button plugged enabled or pushed in, and for post-production today, again, just to make things interesting for myself and for you, I'm only going to use basically one plugin for post-production, and that is the Abbey TG mastering chain from Waves. And so I'll just use that. That's a channel strip, so it has EQ and compression and a limiter too, I think. And in addition to that one plugin, I may use a couple others, like my Fabfilter de-esser if I need to de-ess my voice. And I probably will use Vocal Rider as well, just very subtly at the end of my processing chain too. But for the most part, I'll use the Abbey TG mastering chain. And of course, I'm speaking into, as I mentioned, the Focusrite 2i2 3rd gen. And I got to say, this is a wonderful interface. It always has been. This is a third generation. And I've been recommending this interface to my clients. It's great because it has 2 XLR inputs, which is great for if you ever are in person and you need to interview someone else. You can have 2 mics, plug them into the 2i2, record them into your computer. It's great for that. It works with any recording software that you're already using. Works with any type of XLR microphone. Of course, it has phantom power, so if you plug in a condenser mic, it'll work. This new air feature that it has, which I'm actually using today, adds a really, really nice, smooth and crisp brightness and presence to the sound. So it's kind of very high frequency, maybe 8 to 10K and above. Just adds this little sheen of clarity to it. And so I'm using the air button now just to sort of show you what it sounds like. But the thing is, you don't have to use it, right? You don't have to engage it. So if you already are using a mic that you like the sound of, then you just don't engage the air button. So anyway, I own several of these 2i2s. I recommend them to all my clients. So I want to thank Focusrite for being a sponsor of the show. And the 2i2 3rd gen is a really great unit. So if you know anybody who needs an inexpensive unit just to get 1 or 2 mics into their computer, this is a really good option. All right. So we're going to cover a bunch of the daily goodies from November 8th to November 20th. So it looks like I'm about 2 months behind. Like I said, but this is the second episode in a row I'm doing the daily goody roundups because of the holidays and because I didn't have a guest interview recorded. So let's start with the daily goody from November 8th, which is after removing an That's right. So as podcast editors and producers, we remove a lot of ums, right? Because people just use it as a verbal crutch so often, right? But here's the thing. You can remove an that's great, but sometimes when you remove an it actually will affect the natural flow of the person's speaking and pacing. So you have to actually be careful. If you just cut out an and maybe you cut out a little bit on one side and a little bit on the other, and so maybe someone takes a breath in, and then they keep talking. Like if you cut out the and too much around it, it will sound like, and so it'll sound like the person starts speaking too soon. It'll just sound very unnatural. So after you remove any just be sure to listen back to that edit real quick and decide if it sounds natural enough. And one really cool tip I'll give you is sometimes if removing the whole makes it sound weird, what you can do is highlight the and instead of deleting it, what you do is you silence that span, and then what you do is you remove only like 50% or 75% of that span, that space. So basically you're removing the but you're leaving a little space of silence in its place just to, again, buffer maybe from the breath to the next word and to make it sound natural. So that's a pretty cool trick. All right, next daily goodie, using multi-band compression when mastering episodes. Yeah, mastering episodes, of course, is when you after it's mixed and edited and everything, you finalize the level and you can, sweeten up the sound a little if you want. But using a multi-band compressor is a really good idea in the mastering step because it really helps glue your mix together and glue the different, it sort of it evens out the dynamics of different people speaking. It can also tame various frequency ranges if someone has maybe more low mids in their voice, and another person maybe they have a sharp tone, like presence between 2 and 4K. Maybe it's like really sharp. A multi-band compressor will actually even out those dissimilarities and sort of make it a better listening experience. So, all right, next daily goodie, episode turnaround times expected by clients. All right, so if you are editing podcasts for various clients or producing podcasts, one thing you have to be careful of is being clear with your client on the expected turnaround times. And the turnaround time, by the way, refers to the time between when they give you the raw files to the time that they expect back the produced audio. So, for instance, in my business, I specify 5 business days turnaround time. Usually I get it done before that, but in the contracts and everything, I specify 5 days. Because if someone gives me audio, I can't always get to it that day or even the next day, right? So that turnaround time, you have to, manage that expectation with your clients. And it's really important that you do, because we've all, if you have a client or whoever's had clients, we've all gotten that email that says, "Oh, I'm so sorry, but I just recorded this audio and this episode has to publish tomorrow. I'm sorry for the rush." And that's a bad email to get, because then you got to you may have to drop everything and get it done. And, or you can even, by the way, you can even stipulate in the contract that you're going to charge the client more money if they do that to you, right? Like you can say, "Yeah, no problem. If you need something rushed, okay, I'll get it done, but it's going to cost an extra, however many dollars," right? Okay, next daily goodie. Remember Steve Savagnu's awesome episode? Do you remember that one? I think it was episode 15 of this show. It's back when I used to call him, what did I used to call him? Session 15, because I wanted to call him something different than episodes. So I called them sessions, but then I kept messing up and I just kept calling them episodes anyway by mistake. So then on episode 100, I said, "You know what? I'm going with episodes." Anyway, Steve Savagnu, he is the director of educational services at Audio-Technica US. And he had a lot of cool stories about the history of microphones and all the different types of microphones. It was a really cool episode. And that was a long time ago. Let's see. When was that? It was June of 2016. So that was 3.5 years ago. Anyway, cool episode. Not sure you heard it. You might want to go back and check it out. All right, next daily goodie. Oh, hey, I did a thing. That's actually what I named the daily goodie. Hey, I did a thing. Isn't that clever? Aren't I funny? I mean, I didn't know what to name it, so sorry for the lame name. But anyway, the daily goodie is referring to a video that I made. I think it was my first video that I made for YouTube, and it's called "Why Listen to the Podcast Engineering Show." Anyway, making this video was part of a cool little challenge we did in the Podcasters Lounge Facebook group, which was in November of 2019. There's 5 Fridays in that month, and we had a bunch of people who who pledged and promised to produce 5 episodes that month. 5 videos that month. 1 video each Friday of November 2019. And we did it. It was really a lot of fun. And obviously the whole point was to create videos to promote your podcast or your business, right? Because as podcasters, we know how to do audio and we have our production schedule, but there's a lot of people on YouTube watching stuff, searching for stuff. So like making YouTube videos is pretty cool. And so we had a challenge to do that. So I did make the 5 videos in November 2019. And I'm sad to say I didn't keep up with it. Meaning sort of in the back of my mind, I wanted to keep making videos every week. But, I may start doing that again in 2020 at some point, but I haven't yet. And it's okay. It's okay. I'll make videos whenever I can. I don't want to pressure myself too much, right? So, all right, next daily goodie. The dynamic range of a participant's voice. Okay, the dynamic range of a participant's voice. So a lot of participants on there are a lot of participants on podcasts, right? There's the host, there's the guests, there's all various guests from different places in the world, right? So the dynamic range of each one is different. And the dynamic range basically is the difference in loudness between when they get really loud and scream and versus when they whisper and they talk really softly. Some people, they're very consistent. They'll speak at a normal level, the same level, and it's great because you can listen to it and you don't have to ride the volume knob, right? You don't have to keep adjusting the volume up and down so to hear them properly. But other guests, they are really, really dynamic. They'll get really loud. They'll get really close to the microphone and super loud. And then they'll drift 3 feet away from the microphone and they'll just basically, they start mumbling and whispering, right? That's when someone is really extremely dynamic, it's actually quite hard to mix them to make it sound good because you got to use multiple compressors and, the vocal riders are really good help with that. So, but anyway, my question was, how do you treat these types of guests? Because, again, someone who's very dynamic, if you're riding in a car and someone on a podcast is really dynamic and there's and whoever produced the podcast did not use any compression or anything, you can't listen to it. You literally can't listen to it because you'll miss half what the person is saying, or else you have to turn it up so loud that when they get loud, it blows your ears out. Okay, next daily goodie is small external hard drive for session files. So I do this. I use a small external hard drive for session files. I got this cool 1 terabyte, SSD. Did you hear my stomach growl right there? I don't know if you heard that. Just a tiny little one. Anyway, I have this 1 terabyte SSD hard drive, and I plug it in with the USB-C. It's the the newest, fastest connector type. Anyway, I plug that right into my iMac Pro, and that's where I keep all my session files. And so, the hard drive that's on my computer itself, I don't actually record to that drive. I record to this external drive. And it really helps, for instance, when I'm running sessions with clients and I have all these programs open on my computer and I'm routing audio all different places and, taxing my computer pretty good. At least my computer doesn't have to, on top of all that, worry about writing the digital audio to disk, right? Because it doesn't have to. The actual audio is being recorded on the external drive, right? And so it's 1 terabyte, so it's great because I don't have to really delete stuff off there very much. Maybe every 6 months I'll go in there and clean stuff out. And I actually don't even unplug it. I don't bring it on the road. Some people with small hard drives, they're like, "Oh, it's great. I take it with me." And they're good for that. They really are. If you need to take a large hard drive with you, meaning a lot of high capacity hard drive, they're great. But I don't do that. I leave it in my studio. I never even unplug it or really touch it. I could, but I just don't because you may know that I really don't like to move around or reconfigure the equipment in my studio unless I absolutely need to. Because whenever you do anything like that, some of your settings get messed up or things don't, you'll put stuff back together the way it was, you think, and it doesn't work the same way. And then it takes you a few hours to troubleshoot it and everything. Anyway, All right, next one. This is a previous Daily Goody episode. This was episode 156 of the show where Ralph and I talked about an editing distinction. And it was kind of around content. The difference between a content edit versus an audio edit. So you probably heard that one. If not, you could check it out, episode 156. When's the last time you rearranged your studio setup? That's the next Daily Goody. When's the last time you rearranged your studio setup? So, we were just talking about that. So I have not rearranged mine in a couple years. Since I got the iMac Pro computer and I set up on that desk where I am now and I, connected everything and everything's great. For literally 2 years, I haven't changed a thing. However, my channel strip is actually on a different desk. So it's like not really close to me. It's like maybe 8 feet away. And I really want to bring my channel strip over to my main desk and incorporate that into my main working area. So literally I don't have to even get up to even tweak my voice or something on my channel strip. So I will do that, but I'm actually having trouble figuring out where to put my channel strip because my desk isn't huge. And so anyway, I'm figuring it out. When I figure it out and rearrange it, I'll definitely post pictures. Okay, next Daily Goody, the Fabfilter Pro-G compressor plugin. Yeah, so this is a great plugin. It's a compressor plugin. And by the way, pretty much everything Fabfilter makes is great. Anyway, I got this plugin along because I bet what I did was I bought all the rest of the Fabfilter plugins, which I did not already own. And the Pro-G2 was one of them. And it's a compressor. It's really good. Actually, it's funny. This compressor is really good and it sounds good, but it's so cool and it has so many controls that it's taking me so long to try all the different stuff and really sort of A/B things and see what I like and don't like, which is I'm okay with that. I'm not in a rush, but because there's so many options and so many modes and stuff like that, it's taking me time to work through it, which is good. But anyway, and by the way, Fabfilter, I don't know if you know. Well, first of all, the plugins are expensive, so if you don't have a lot of money to spend, then I wouldn't even tempt yourself. But they do offer 30-day free trials on their plugins. So if you ever want to try a Fabfilter plugin, you can try one. They're really nice, by the way, but they are very expensive. I think normal price for just a regular plugin like the Pro Q3 or the Pro-G2, I think regular price is $180 each. So that's kind of that's expensive, but they're really good. Okay, next Daily Goody. If your guest is using a tabletop conference call microphone, oh God, it hurts to even say it. If your guest is using a tabletop conference call microphone. All right, so here's the thing. Some guests will connect to a recording session from a conference room, and they want to use the conference call system that's laying on the table there. Okay, this is mostly people who are working at big companies, and all they know is that little or the device on the conference room table, and they're like, oh, that's how I do conference calls. Ooh, let me be on a podcast. I'll join as a conference call. That's all they know, so, you can't blame them. But first of all, okay, so now that I got that out of my system, so here's the thing. You got to be careful with this type of setup because, in general, it doesn't sound good, and there's a million ways that guest is going to ruin the audio. So to make sure you capture audio that doesn't sound like absolute rubbish, here are a few things you can do. Make sure they're wearing headphones. Well, because that's another thing they'll do, right? They're going to be like, oh, I want it on speakerphone. And it's like, no. Make sure they get as close as they possibly can to the microphone. So, because again, they want to put it in the table 7 feet away and be like, okay, I'm on a conference call. Not good, right? They need to be close to it, as close as they can. Drag that thing over here, okay? Next, you got to instruct them not to even touch the table, because every time they put their hand down on the table or touch the table at all, pretty much, you'll probably hear some noise through this conference call system. So I tell them, don't even touch the table. Don't put your arms on the table. Don't touch the table. Don't look at the table. All right, anyway. Another thing is make sure they don't move around or make noise during the interview. So you got to tell them, don't move around, because the chair probably squeaks and they're going to move around and turn their head. And so right now I'm talking into the microphone, and right now I'm pointed 90 degrees right and talking over here. How's that sound? Yeah, that sounded like absolute rubbish, didn't it? Because I turned my head 90 degrees and I was 1.5 feet from the microphone. Anyway, that's what they'll do. So you got to tell them not to do that. And also, even if they do all that properly, you're probably going to need to use, in post-production, you're probably going to need to use some de-reverb, and or noise reduction. Because, again, it's a conference. It's probably a big conference room, and it's probably a little reverby. Although, there was someone, a long time ago, I'm just remembering this now, someone connected to one of our sessions, one of my clients' sessions, and they were in a conference room, but they said, oh, it should sound pretty good because this is like the soundproofed conference room. There's like, really high-end, good-looking foam panels on the walls and stuff. And it actually, there wasn't much reverb at all. There's like hardly any. And I was like, wow, that's cool. Some companies, they actually do have, or maybe they treat the certain conference rooms with, audio absorbing materials like foam and stuff, so that it's not just nasty reverby, right? Okay, next daily goodie, voice meter. Voice meter, and by the way, meter is MEETER. Meter, voice meter. This, I actually haven't tried this, but this is software that works on Windows only. And this software is supposed to be kind of like Audio Hijack, where you can like create some virtual instruments and meaning you can route different audio to different applications within your computer. So, I use Audio Hijack and Loopback all the time, and it's great because right within my computer, I can route everything everywhere I need it to go, create all the mix minuses I need, everything. It's awesome. And so apparently this voice meter is very similar, but it's for Windows only. So if you have Windows and you want to mess around, routing audio within your computer, which is cool because then you can, let's say, on one computer, you can have Skype running, you can have Chrome running, maybe with like Squadcast or Zencaster, and you can record both separately. You can record the Skype person on their own track, and then you could record all the Chrome audio on another track. So it's pretty cool. Very, very handy if you're connecting different guests and you want to connect them in different ways. All right, next daily goodie is, recent episode on which I used Fabfilter plugins only. Okay, I did a whole episode using only Fabfilter plugins, and because this was right after I bought all the rest of the Fabfilter plugins. And I was like, you know what? Just as a test thing, I'm going to do a whole episode with Fabfilter plugins only. So I did, and it turned out pretty cool. I've been using the Pro Q3 for a long time, the Pro MB, which is the multiband compressor, for a long time, the Pro DS, which is the de-esser, for a long time, and the Saturn. I've been using those 4 plugins for a long time, but I added the Pro C2, which is the compressor, the Pro L2, which is the limiter, the Pro-G, which is the gate, and the Pro R, which is the reverb. And they have a plugin called Timeless 2. And Timeless 2, just the other day, I finally went through all the different effects that it offers. Without even joking, I got to say there's probably 200 to 300 different effects this thing does. Meaning everything from reverb to chorus to delay to distortion. You name it, it's there. I looked. I'm like, this is unbelievable. Reverb, everything. So, if you want one plugin and you to create a bunch of effects, do different cool stuff, actually, have you ever heard on at the end of some of the recent interviews I've done on this show, at the very end when we yell "sound great" and without the music going on, you can hear a bunch of delay I put on our voices. So it's like sound great, 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 great. And there's delay and reverb. I did that using this plugin, Timeless 2 from Fabfilter. Anyway, the episode that I produced with only Fabfilter plugins was episode 155 with Andrew Jelina. So that was pretty cool. And I didn't get to use any of my waves. Well, by choice, I didn't use them, but I didn't use anything but Fabfilter plugins. All right, next daily goodie. Demand 1 push-up for every right? I don't know how I thought of this, but one day I'm like, you know what? We should, for guests on podcasts, like when the podcast is done and we're like, you said 231 times, so you owe us 231 push-ups. I don't know. I know it's dumb, but I thought it was funny for a minute. And anyway, as editors, it's tough sometimes because if someone really has a lot of it's actually sort of painful to edit, right? And then as an editor, you sort of start to think like, why can't this person just speak like a normal person? Like you have that thought, which, and the answer is, it's not a mystery. The answer is because they don't have good speaking skills and they're probably nervous. That's it. So, and you can't do anything about either of those things. I mean, you can make guests not so nervous, but if someone has really bad habits with their speaking, you can't change that in 5 minutes. You can't tell them at the beginning of the episode, like, yeah, please don't say thank you. Right? You can't do that. So, all right. The next daily goodie. Oh, I think this is this is a bonus daily goodie. I'm only supposed to go to November 20th, but this is November 21st. Oh, this is a good one too, actually. If you're cutting off lots of peaks in mastering. Yeah, so when you master your episodes to the proper LUFS level, if a lot of your peaks are being chopped off, and a more accurate way to say that is severely limited, it means you could be using more compression in the mixing phase, right? Because to get it to the right LUFS level, -19 for mono and -16 for stereo, if there are really high peaks, like loud peaks in the audio, and then your software still has to boost it up to get it to the -19 or -16, a lot of those peaks will go way above 0, and then the program will just chop them off. They'll just chop them at 0 or -1 if you tell it to chop them at -1. So the point is, if you're chopping off, if like the top of your episode looks just like flat, like a square, then that means you could be using more compression, because compression is going to sort of make the whole episode more dense and more loud, and the peaks won't go so high. So there's a lot more to that, but in this episode, I'm right now I'm not going to be able to explain a ton more than that. But if you have any questions on that, let me know. And that goes for anything. If you ever have any questions about production, send me a note. Go to podcastengineeringschool.com, and there's a contact page, and send me a note. Say, hi, Chris. Hi, Barry. Everyone, by the way, most people, they say hello to Barry in their in their correspondence to me. And if you're listening to this and you don't know who Barry is, you'll find out or listen to some previous episodes. He's my sidekick, who's not here today. All right, well, that's it for this episode, the first one of 2020. This is so much fun for me, being able to talk audio, talk with you about audio, and help all of you with audio, and also learn a lot about audio. Learning never ends. I mean, I'm always learning, even about fundamental stuff, Even with all my experience, there's I'm constantly watching YouTube videos. A lot of it's with music production, just because those are the types of engineers I want to hear from. But anyway, I hope everything I'm doing is helping you. All these episodes and my daily goodies, and I don't know. Sometimes you don't know, right? You just put stuff out in the world, and it's like, but I know there are many of you who are enjoying this, so I appreciate you, and let me know if you have any questions, and until hopefully I'll interview someone, and most likely we'll have an interview next. In fact, we'll definitely have an interview for next week's episode. All right, see y'all. Take care. Bye.